Of all those things as ensuring our own objective and our goals. For instance, we've been working with the TED Fund, using the Freedom of Information Act as a tool for information to track the expenditure in tertiary institutions, ensuring that all monies assigned to tertiary institutions are well utilized for what they are supposed to be utilized for. So, among other things that we've been doing with the Freedom of Information Act.
So, Kachi, you want to share with us your experience?
Okay. Just to add to what he has already said. So, over time, before the Freedom of Information Act, before it was signed into law, it was really a bit difficult for people to actually access public-related information. So, since 2011, when the bill became an act, it allowed citizens, as well as corporate organizations such as NGOs here, to be able to make requests to public offices to request for public-related information. So what we do with PPDC, with the Freedom of Information, is that we make requests to MDAs requesting for public-related expenditures. So this is what PPDC, as well as Follow the Money, which is housed by Code, as well as Tracker, which is housed by Budget. This is what most civil societies, this is what we use in making requests, and that's what we use in tracking projects as well, because it sort of makes it difficult when you don't have data, you can't go to the field. So basically what we use this to do is make requests to the relevant agencies, and when they respond, this is what helps organizations as well as individuals and investigative journalists as well to monitor and track projects to ensure that projects are properly implemented according to specifications, basically.
Well, Kevwe, I know that Kachi already touched a bit on how code also comes in to all of this, but do you have anything to add on this?
Thank you. I think the Freedom of Information Act is quite important to accessing government data, because that's what works. That's how we're able to hold government accountable. That's how we're able to track how transparent government is and how they are more accountable to people that elected them into power.
Yeah, but how's the code experience? Are there challenges?
Yes, there are challenges, obviously, but because sometimes we are met with some level of blockage. Sometimes the documents we request are not explicitly explained in the ones we're able to access. So really, it's something we battle with constantly.
You see, just like my colleague just said, the challenges are enormous, It ranges from the timeliness of the disclosure. Sometimes it's not prompt according to what is specified in the Act. The Act specifies 7 days. Sometimes you have to wait longer than that to get that information. Then sometimes it's also about the proactiveness of the organization also in disclosing that information. Sometimes they're a little redundant. They don't want to really, disclose that. And then lastly, it is the content. They are not willing to give you to the degree of what you have asked for. They just give you, skirmishes, just little things, 1 or 2 lines, and you have asked a detailed explanation to certain things. So it's on that 3 cardinal areas that we experience usually. Of course, like all these organizations here experience challenges in the amount of disclosure from these ministries, departments, and agencies that we make our requests to.
Okay, so if I want to add a little, sometimes these requests are not being responded to. Then sometimes it becomes a tug of war, like you don't have the right to ask for this information. Who are you to ask for this information? So we are met with the challenges, and we can conclude that some MDAs don't even know about the Act. Some MDAs are not even utilizing the Act. Some of their staff don't even understand what we mean by the Freedom of Information Act. So you have to go ahead and begin to explain why you're requesting for the information is in line according to the bill and the Act in section of this. And sometimes you even exceed the number of days that the Act allows for you to proactively disclose these information to the people that are asking for it. And basically, it's not just for us as an organization. It's an extension of a human right. So anyone can walk up to your organization and ask you, look, I want to access this particular document, and you're supposed to, disclose.
Yeah, but can you share with us what the Freedom of Information ranking is about?
Oh, okay. So Over time, like I mentioned, we've been trying to make use of this Freedom of Information Act to make requests, and we've come to understand that, like they've mentioned some of the challenges, we came to the realization that also one of the major challenges also in people not being able to respond is we've come to realize that it's sometimes a change of administration. Most of the time, people that head organizations, MDAs, once there is a change in administration, a new leader comes in. If he or she is not somebody who's interested in the freedom of information, it sort of destabilizes whatever relationship you had prior to that particular, So we're trying to see a way where this freedom of information could be institutionalized as opposed to just having whoever that is in charge just knowing about the FOI, and the moment he or she leaves office and someone is replaced, that's the end of it. So in 2013, PPDC started the ranking of MDAs by using the parameters that have been provided by the FOI. We've been doing that since 2013. So this year we decided to do that also in collaboration with other civil societies who also make use of the FOI. The idea behind this is to measure the compliance of MDAs to the FOI Act, and also to see a possibility of having, when you have these forces all coming together to use one particular platform to rank an MDA, it makes it difficult to have an MDA come out in the open and say, I responded to code and I didn't respond to PPDC. Doesn't mean I'm not responding to MDAs. I'm not responsive to FOI requests. So in a situation where you have 5 different civil societies, in this we have code, we have Basic Rights Watch, we have MRA, we have RTK, and we have budget, and then PPDC. So these organizations, we're all coming together to have this ranking. This is a situation where you can have, when the ranking is released, no MDA will have an excuse and say, I responded to one, we didn't respond. So if you're unable to respond to the whole organizations, of course, you can't say you are complying to the Freedom of Information Act. So basically, the ranking is to measure compliance and also entrench transparency and accountability in MDAs, because this will now open up their activities and allow people to actually know exactly what they are doing with the fundings that have been released to them.
But so far, in your merging together as one group, one body, have there been instances where you request for FOI from any of these organizations and then they say no, they're not giving it so far?
Well, we just started this year. This is the very first time. Okay. We're launching this as a cohort for the very first time. So I think it's when we're done collating the data, then we'll be able to find out. But then I could share a little bit of experiences. I've had a couple of calls from some MDAs actually saying they got a request from us, they got a request from Code, they got a request. One called me from the Ministry of Defense saying that they're suspecting that these organizations is just one organization doing all this requests, looking for a way to penetrate into the government and all that. And I was a bit disappointed because these are organizations that are publicly known. I told them, I said, you could visit the website, they all have different addresses. The letters you even told me and confirmed to me that they were signed by different people. So how is it possible that it's just one organization trying to penetrate? So it just goes to buttress her point that people don't really know about this act. And it's really sad because this is something that has been in existence since 2011. And so what we also try to do at the same time is that we try to offer trainings to these MDAs at no cost. Some are willing to, allow you train them, whereas some just want to see it as something they can just tick as something they've done. But we are trying to preach proactiveness. We don't want to get to a point where we pass that level where we actually have to send requests. Most of them complain that they get so many requests from different people. And we say, okay, fine, the act allows you to proactively disclose all these things. Put it up on your website. Once you have it on your website, nobody has to send you requests. Whenever you need any information, you simply go to the website and get it. But a situation where you don't have it, of course, we'll send you requests, and you're mandated to respond to every one of them.
All right, I think we have achieved some level of success with organizations going to use the FOI. What about individuals? Can they use it, and are they using it at all?
All right, for Follow the Money, we just launched Follow the Money challenge recently, and that was to see how citizens are doing in tracking government projects. And part of the component of that challenge is that you will have to write an FOI later to request for information on that specific project you want to track. And this is not centered around any kind of sector. Any sector you want, road, health, education, and all whatnot. And we've seen some response. Some people have actually sent us a sample of the FOI they sent to MDAs, okay, maybe for us to vet and see if they're in line with the applications and all whatnot. So I think moving forward, even on our platform, followthemoney.org, we've seen citizens go to track projects on their own. So I think we are moving. We are on a moving train. And very soon, we believe that everybody every citizen, because it's your right to know what is happening within your community. It's your right to be part of what is happening, to take ownership of government project, because this project are being executed with your own money. So you have the right to ask questions. You have the right to be part of it. So it's a moving train. We are seeing the train change over time, and Nigerians are getting interested by the day.
Yeah, let me just contribute to that, sorry. Yes, over the time, we are not yet there, but we are making progress. We are happy that that act, has come into existence, and we are using it. Organizations are using it. Civil society is using it. But the level of usage of that act by individuals is not yet very strong, and that's what we are doing as an organization. At organizational level, we are creating that awareness that there is this act. This act exists, and individuals can use it to make requests of whatever kind of information that they need to know. It's your right to know what is going on in any ministry, any agency, any department of government. You are entitled to every information, and that's the reason why we're creating that. As organizations, we are preaching it. Use the act, and of course, very importantly, like my friend Kachi just mentioned, once these information are on the website, it will reduce the letter request these organizations get, public institutions get. So I don't need to write. We are saying, make this information available. Post it on your website. Anybody that at any point in time, you just click, with a click of a mouse, you can get whatever information you need to get on the website. That makes it easy. So it reduces that cumbersome nature of an individual going to write letter, sending it by post or by courier to these and waiting for so day of the response. All these things will be, will be reduced by reason of just going by a click of mouse and getting that information. So as an organizational level, we are doing that. Of course, it's going to it's trickling down to the individuals, but it's still a gradual process. We are creating the awareness, we're conscientizing people, and we believe that this time, everybody will begin to make use of it.
I'm sure Kevwe wants to tell us the code
Yes,
experience.
in addition to what Joshua just said, I think it's okay to, or not completely okay to excuse ignorance of MDAs not knowing about the Freedom of Information Act. I think it's also important for them to be open to giving this information. They should be receptive to it, and they should be compliant, because if we've asked for the Freedom of Information from you, we've asked for information from you about what your organization does or a particular issue, please be responsive. MDAs need to be more responsive. It's a democratic era. They need to be more responsive.
Yeah, but are there no restrictions? Is it not possible that sometimes we are also asking for information that we shouldn't have access to?
Because we're civil society organizations. Basically, the information we're asking for is to help us track government fundings, is to help us ensure that public funds are being utilized for the purpose for which they're outlined for. So that's basically what we're asking for. I don't think that's too much, and that has been outlined. It has to be compliant with the Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah, what about states? I know that it's easy to get federal government agencies respond to you, but how is the experience going to different states?
If it comes to states, it's a different ball game entirely, because some states are of the argument that the act does not apply to them. Some are saying that it has to be domesticated in their states first of all before it's the
but is that not true?
Well, there are two sides to it, funny enough, because there have been different rulings from different courts, some siding the state and then some siding the federal government and all. So basically, this is what the OGP also is trying to do. With the OGP, which states are signing up to, as part of their commitments in their state action plans, this is what they are supposed to do as part of their commitments, the Open Government Partnership, that's OGP. So it's any state that signs up to the OGP is part of the commitments that you adopt the Freedom of Information and allow it to be applicable in your state. Some state governments are trying. I think as of now, the bill is in Delta State. It's just waiting for the government to assent. It has been passed in the Delta State House of Assembly. And then I think Ekiti State also, it has accepted the Freedom of Information Act. So it's a different thing in the states. But the thing is that we haven't even gotten it right at the federal level. If at this point, some MDAs at the federal level are still telling you that this is not applicable to them. Just
Now, what do you do with the information? Are they focusing on the federal government? Do they have state officials that can ask for state information, state, local government, and local government agencies. And he says, I requested some information from my state, and I was told that I can't get it because I live outside the country. My question is, are there any restriction in the law? Probably with Nigerians living in diaspora, can they request?
No, it has nothing to do with wherever you're staying. As well, the law even allows, even whether you're deaf or you're dumb or you're blind, you're free to use the act. You understand? So even if you can't write, the law allows someone to make the request on your behalf. So the fact that the person stays in Michigan is not an excuse for not responding to that. But it just goes to answer the question that why I'm telling you that states is a different ballgame, because I don't know the exact states he's requesting for the information from. So it's a different thing entirely. Probably the law hasn't been domesticated in that state. Probably that's the reason why he's having a bit of a challenge. But it's still no excuse, really.
Let me just quickly state that if you go to, I think, PPDC's Twitter page, Connected Development and Basic Rights Project, the 5 facts about the FOI Act is available. Individuals can go check it out and see certain things about that Act. There's point number 2 states that the Act affords everyone, regardless of tribe, age, creed, a right to access of information or records held by public institutions and relevant private entities, irrespective of the form in which such information or records are kept. So, if I am living maybe in Michigan, for instance, and I ask that they send it by electronic mail, it's their responsibility to just package that information and send it to me by electronic mail. So distance has been breached by technology. So it does not affect, provided the person is a Nigerian citizen. That is what the Act states. Provided you're a Nigerian citizen, you're supposed to have access on of whatever information you seek to.
And if they refuse to, like was in the case of Victor, what should the individual do?
Yes, the Act has a penalty for that. I think about 500,000 naira.
Or you take them to court.
Or you can take them, charge them to court for not responding. So.
Who will collect the 500,000?
It's a fine on the MDA.
It's a fine
fine.
to
To the government.
Yes.
All right, let's take a few calls. 0946-00951 or 0809-597-4869 or 0803-123-0293. Call now if you have any question. Our focus is on the FOI Act.
So you have most of your information on your website, most of the information that you get from these MDAs on your website. But do you get to track if individuals are actually accessing this information? The response, how is it like?
I think, like Lucy mentioned, we have a Flood the Money Challenge currently ongoing, where citizens are enjoined to participate in the competition, where they track a particular government project in their communities. So one of the criteria to achieving this is getting information from the LGAs. So they have to write a letter requesting for access to information. So citizens are doing this. Many citizens are doing this. Well, we're advocating for more citizens to ask questions, to demand for information from government, and that's happening. That's happening. Many CSOs are projecting, working on infographics, projecting what funding has been released to a particular MTA and asking people to, ask the right questions. So it's important that more people ask.
But the information that you get from the MDAs, can individuals access them?
Yes, sure, they can.
Just like what she said, it's a two-way thing. Individuals can write directly to MDAs, and then we as organizations will write to MDAs and disclose it.
Exactly.
So that citizens also can, on our platform, get that information and then track whatever it's in that area or whatever it is that based on the information we've disclosed.
Yes. So in addition to what Joshua just said now, and if you notice, especially on Twitter and on different social media platforms, we usually just break this information. We present them creatively so that people can understand them, digest them easily, and then they know exactly how to ask the right questions.
All right, for the sake of those who are just joining, maybe you can just tell us again what the FOI Act is about and how they can use it, both as individuals and as organizations.
Oh, okay. So the FOI Act allows anyone, any Nigerian, irrespective of your tribe, race, whether you're disabled or whatever, you're allowed to make requests for public-related information. You're allowed to request to MDA, any MDA or any government official. As a matter of fact, the
the FOI Act allows you to even request to private sectors that are making use of government funding. As long as you're making use of government funding, you are to, the FOI also applies to you. So you request, we want to know how much they use in constructing a particular road in your community. You find the implementing agency, you are free to make a request to them. You are aware of a project that has been put in the budget that you want to confirm if it was awarded for. You're free to make requests. And just to add to what my colleagues here have also said, we at PPDC, what we do also is when we get the responses from the MDUs, we have our platform. It is known as Budeshi. Budeshi.ng is our platform. So what we basically do there is to put up this data we get from different MDUs, put it up on the platform just to allow the public to easily access such information. So if you have any project of interest or a project you are aware of or there's ongoing in your community, you just want to confirm and check who the contractor is and for how much your contract is going for, you can simply visit the website and also get that information.
All right. You want to share with us your contact as we wrap up?
Okay, yes. Basic Rights Watch also have been using the Freedom of Information Act, and our information are available on our website, that's basicrightswatch.org, and then on Twitter at BRW.org. The information are available. You can, send us a message, tweet at us, and let us know what project you think. If you see a project that is not yet completed, you can also contact us. We can tell you the state of that project. We can give you information based on what we have. And then we are also encouraging citizens to be very proactive. It's our government. We should take ownership of the happenings in government institutions. We should take ownership of projects. When we own it, we can ask the right questions, and then we can get government to work for us. Thank you very much.
Connected development.
Yes, thank you. Our platform is ifollowthemoney.org. ifollowthemoney.org. We currently have over 5,000 citizens on that platform. It's a social accountability platform, and that's where you also meet a network of activists that are asking the right questions. All this information that you need about organizations, about MDs are also on the platform. So you can just log on to www.ifollowthemoney.org, and you can follow us on Twitter, follow the money and connected_DEV. Thank you.
All right, this is your challenge. Please,
Yes.
how can people be a part of it?
We're already shortlisted because
Okay,
it's been running since June. And at the end of it, it's ending in September. So we gave a period of about 4 months for citizens to just find a project. It could be a road project, it could be a primary healthcare center, it could be an education, a school project. As we know, the number of out-of-school children are increasing by the day. So we need government to pay attention to this. We need schools to be built so more children are encouraged to go to school. So it could be a school project, and you can just go to the local government within that vicinity to ask for information. And we're also here to help. So citizens are going to, in fact, we have about 100 people competing right now, and we're following up closely with them. So by the end of the challenge, yes, more citizens will be able to hold government accountable.
All right, well done. Thank you very much also for being a part of our show.
Okay, and our guests have been Kachi Chukwu, Program Officer for PPDC, Joshua Arogunyo, Programs Manager, Basic Rights Watch, and Kevwe Oghide, Communications Lead Code, and Lucy James Abaji, Programs Manager Code. Thank you all for coming.